Yes, 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. Tuesday morning, County Commissioners segment with us this morning. Commissioner Mike Kieth, Commissioner Bonnie Dunlap in the studio. Our visit presented by Marcus & Mack, voted best law firm and best personal injury lawyer 4 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. You can visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Big, bright smiles on the faces of the commissioners. There's a state budget, and they get to work on their budget. What could be more exciting at this time of the year? Good morning to both of you.
Indiana County, probably nothing. I say that in respect that, as I said to you, this radio program and the one in December is probably, in our eyes, the two biggest ones, because this is where we actually tell the people in Indiana County how their commissioners, what we did for them, how it panned out, and this really, a budget is our report card to them. As I said before, you know, we as commissioners, we have a lot to deal with during the day. We have over 35 departments to deal with. We got a lot of decisions to make. And thankfully, through the state and federal budget this year, we didn't have to make the hard decisions that some counties had to make it across Pennsylvania. For instance, I believe it was Westmoreland County. They had to borrow $11.5 million to cover their cost through the budget. If you notice, Indiana County didn't have to do that. We didn't have to any layoffs. We didn't have to borrow any money. We were actually knew that we were going to be had a problem back in February. And I mentioned to you before, we started our budget process back in February instead of usual the August. That was one of the reasons, but there's many more. But I can't give you numbers today, and the reason I can't do that is because we are still in the process. We will have a budget to present tomorrow to the people of Indiana County. But just realize that doesn't stop tomorrow because that's on presentation for the residents to look at until December's meeting where we actually approve the final budget. So we got to go back and still do some work on it. We feel there's still some shift there. We don't have everything we need. But again, that's our report card. And we take our job serious. We really do. This is one of the things, I mean, we look at the numbers every day. We have to look at what aspect can we change in the road. And again, we always can predict, a budget's a prediction, but there's always hiccups, something that we didn't even think was going to happen, or we have to deal with that. So, yeah.
You had the uncertainty, of course, of the state budget situation, but do you have a general idea of what's going to come from the state within certain percentage points? And so you can work within that framework. But you talk about challenges, and you can cite any number of counties across Pennsylvania. There's 67 counties in this state.
Yes.
Not every one of them is going to get it right. Why, or let's put it this way. What were some of the things the biggest challenges that you knew you had to meet, and how did you go about meeting them, Bonnie?
Well, I'm going to answer that in a little bit different way. Commissioner Kieth just said there's around 35 departments of county government. So we sat down with every department head and elected official and went through their budget line by line item. So if you take 35 times 2 hours even at a time, that's how much time we put into looking at those budgets, and if there was any wiggle room, we said we need to be good stewards, and we trimmed the budget. We did not add additional staff. We had to cut some staff. Was that well received by some of the department heads and elected officials? Absolutely not. It's not a favorable thing when you do that. But as Commissioner Kieth said, we're here to be good stewards of the money. We know how much money we're getting in from the real estate taxes. And we have a general idea on those other state revenues that are coming in as reimbursements, primarily through things like children and youth and EMA, some of the other departments. But we had to be very aware of looking at all those line items. So it doesn't make us popular in some ways, but we have to do the right thing.
There are predictable expenditures at the beginning of any budget cycle, things that you know you're going to have to pay for in a given year. There are the maintenance costs, of course, for the various properties that are owned. There are the upgrade costs as well, making sure that not only is a building still viable, but it is able to handle the load that is needed. But then there are unpredictable things that come in, things that you had no idea would be an expense. And I don't know if there were those in this particular budget cycle or not, but those are things that you have to have a contingency for. And so that work has to be a part of what you're doing as well, a little crystal ball.
Most certainly does. And you put it relatively in perspective. So when you hear that, we're not being favored by some of the directors or elected officials because of what we had to do. So let's just take something, in perspective that, for instance, we can plan for a hazardous material disaster, okay? And in that thing, we know what we actually have on hand to actually go out and take care of that problem. Mm-hmm. But we don't know actually until it actually happens how big the problem is. So we can go ahead and we can really fund that part of the county's budget, but there's a fine line. You have to actually come back and find a reasonable number that will work for what could happen or what we have to prepare for. Mm-hmm. You can over-prepare for things, so we have to scale things back. And we have to actually, at the end of the day, we try to cover everything, but we can't.
Yeah.
That's all in the planning of how we, as a county commissioner, have to come up with a number at the end of the day to operate this county.
Moving forward after this budget begins, and you look at the next year and the year after that and the year after that, of course, with the Homer City redevelopment project, there are great predictions for wonderful economic benefits for Indiana County. The county itself should benefit from that in a good way, not only from the direct revenues coming from there, but from people that come into Indiana County to work and to live, and that should increase the tax base and all of those good predictions. And we'd love to have that day when we can look ahead at a budget and say, here comes a whole bunch of money, and that can really shore things up, but we really can't do that just yet. And we'd love to be able to do that. But, when you think about priorities for the county moving forward into the next 4 or 5 years, I'm sure that there are things out there that are going to be expenses that have to be met. And I know that just from the two of you and from Shireen as well, that you can begin to prepare for those things now through wise spending of the resources that you have and, rainy day funds. We'll call it whatever you want to call it. But we know there are things coming that are going to be expensive. And maybe even startup costs in order to accommodate what's going to be happening with Homer City redevelopment. That could come at some expense to the county too, could it not?
So we're cautiously optimistic over the next few years that there will be a growth, but we're also trying to look beyond that as to where it might plateau. And we're also realizing that there's going to be additional costs that will be from, I don't want to say fallout, but there's going to be things like rising electricity costs. Those kind of things are normal costs that will continue to escalate that we need to be planning for and ready for. Mm-hmm. So we want to be good to be able to plan that 3 to 5 years out.
Yeah, there have been a number of industrial parks that have opened up in Indiana County in the last 20 years. Are we adequate for what could be new people coming in and saying we need a site? Is Indiana County set up for that?
Most certainly. I think that's where we had an advantage. And the reason I say the advantage is, again, planning and development office, they're the people behind the doors that actually do this. They can foresee. So we have what we call ready to dig projects. Ready, the infrastructure is already laid, ready for someone to come in, take their building, take their company, and look for a number of spots in the county that are ready to go, that they can come in and start digging and laying the foundation to build their business here in Indiana County. Mm-hmm. We do have that, and I applaud planning for doing that.
Yeah. Indiana County, of course, there are predictions for housing and what Indiana County needs to have available for folks to move into the county in order to work at some of the sites around here. And I know there's been attention to that paid recently.
We just had a conference last Thursday. Byron from the Office of Planning and Development worked with the local Realtors Association, did a conference down at Chestnut Ridge where we talked about housing and talked about potential solutions and ways to connect those people that are coming in to live here, even if it's temporarily or maybe even turning into permanent. So they're working on some ideas for that right now.
Yeah, yeah. In the end, I think with Homer City redevelopment or any other big project that's going to come, the county's role is basically to open the door and allow people to come in and do what they can do that the county knows there's going to be return on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But one thing that, put in perspective of the budget, and a lot of people don't know this, but yesterday we celebrated 50 years of the 911 system here in Indiana County. 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday we got some stats from the Jolene Burkhardt, who is the 911 coordinator over there. Back in 1975, it actually cost this county $22,000 that year budgeted for the 911 system. 50 years later today, I actually come in early and I did the numbers and everything. Today, that 911 system actually is $3.6 million today. 50 years later.
50 years from 22,000 to over $3 million.
So hats off to those dispatchers. And again, the first responders appreciation day was this past Sunday. We truly hats off to those people. Without them, we would be in a sad situation.
Yeah, yeah. And the county has put a lot into the 911 system, communication with the various fire agencies and police agencies as well in terms of radio, and making it so that all over the county we can be blanketed with the assurance that people can communicate with one another. Everybody's on the same frequencies from county to county and from agency to agency. That takes an awful lot of work and an awful lot of expense. And one of the things that I think we need to recognize is that those radios get old and they get broken and they get outdated in terms of their technological capabilities, and they have to be replaced too at one point.
And actually, that's one of the things that we are going to replace next year is the pager system in the county for the fire and EMS. Again, it's budgeted. We're going to do it. As I always say to all the first responders, at the end of the day, we as commissioners, we've got your back.
Yeah, and certainly those are the sorts of things that will come up that are going to be those regular sorts of things. All right, so
Yesterday was 50 years for the first phone call that came in for the 911 system.
Yeah. Wonder if anybody remembers what that call was.
Oh, I believe she
Yes,
has all the
she has.
information. In fact,
Oh yeah.
if you look at our Facebook page, I'll be posting some things from that
How
presentation.
about that?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be tremendous. That'll be tremendous. Okay, so county commissioners meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
And we'll look at whatever your agenda is. That'll be published here soon, and so we'll see what you're getting into next. But I know that it's a great relief that the state budget is now finally taken care of. The agencies around the county, the school districts, everybody else breathing a sigh of relief and lamenting the fact that in a couple of months we'll be starting it all over again. But at any rate, we're moving forward.
Yep.
All right.
We are.
Terrific. Hey, thanks both for coming over today.
Thank you,
You're
Tom.
welcome.
We appreciate that, and good fortune continued with everything that you're doing at the county commissioner level. It's Indiana in the Morning. It's WCCS.